Today it's great to have Marco Rivera here, an entrepreneur and private money lender. Welcome, Marco.
Hi, how's it going, Antonis? Thanks for having me on the podcast today. I appreciate it.
It's great to have you here. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I can go into it. I'm an entrepreneur, as you said. Have several things, several different businesses. One, obviously, in the real estate industry as a private money investor, and then my major one has been social media management, social media business branding. So I own an agency, Easy Reach Media.
All right.
I've been doing that for a lot longer, probably a little over a decade and a half. And I have several other small ventures like online, stores and stuff like that. Nothing major.
Yeah.
But I kind of been on that journey since I was 24.
24, right? Mm-hmm.
I can say I did some pre-work, prep work beforehand. My first child kind of forced me into changing a lot of things in my young life real quickly. You have to kind of be a responsible dad and figure out how to make money for your family and all that kinds of ways. I've been on the entrepreneurship journey for quite some time now. Mm-hmm. But that's a quick scheme of like what I've been up to as far as like owning. I think in real estate I've only been into it about 6 years, so that started way later in my adulthood, where I kind of understood investments and understood what to do with all this money I was making and where to put it so I can grow it faster and all these things. So that became a big thing back when I turned around 30, going on to 31 years old.
Doesn't look like it. Looks younger.
Yeah, thank you. No, I'm 37 now, so
all right,
on my way to 38 this year. So
okay, you mentioned your family. So would you say it was easier of a journey being an entrepreneur when you had the family, or before that?
Well, actually, so I would say before that, I wasn't really an entrepreneur. I had a hustle mentality. Like I was running an eBay store. I was selling stuff online, like hobbies and stuff like that. But I think that the family is what actually kickstarted my entrepreneurship mindset into a more concrete, almost like forced habit of getting into it for real versus like, I'm single, I'm taking it, easy right now. I really don't have to be responsible for many things in my life. So I think family definitely made it a little bit more consistent for me. It's what really kind of got me into thinking like, how do I make this a real thing? How do I make this like actually work before my family gets bigger and then I don't have the means to be able to control it. So for some people it was easier. For me, it was like I didn't really start that journey until I had the family. So I don't really know what that would have felt like without kids or without a family in the way. Because before then I was just kind of like, I was just doing things for fun. There wasn't a business or anything. So good question though.
I see. What do you enjoy most?
Well, I definitely enjoy this life now, and I can say for a fact there's more purpose in my life right now as an entrepreneur, with my family being my biggest why, right? When you go into this journey, you really have to have something that you really want to hold on to as to why you're doing this. And that why has to be strong enough that you go through this journey, even through the things that you don't like about it,
Yeah.
entrepreneurship is not for the faint of the heart. A lot of people think that, it's one of these things that it's fun and easy and you make all this money and you go on vacations, and that's kind of like what entrepreneurs paint the picture as.
Mm.
It's not all yachts and vacations and trips and fun. It's a lot of hard work. In fact, most of the entrepreneurs that I know in my life, especially my mentors that mentor me, these guys work more than some W-2s, do, even working overtime.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurship is a, 72 to 90-hour job a week sometimes.
Cool. Mm.
It just depends, how long you've done it, how far along you've been in the journey. But I can for 100% sure say it's a lot more fun when you have a why doing all those things, because even on the hard days, you remember and, reflect on why you're doing it. What is this for? Why am I, eating this, 50K loss right now on this deal? Or why am I dealing with, 10 different, VIP clients that are just making my life miserable right now, trying to run their social platforms because they want it one way, and I'm telling them they should do it this way in order to grow, and it's dealing with the headaches of like relationships and projects and things of that sort, right? But once you have a really big reason why, and it's big enough to overpower anything that you're doing, it becomes more like, survival of the fittest. Like, I need to do this because I need to reach this goal. And the goal of building a wealth future for my future generation, my kids' kids, and their kids.
Exactly.
It's so strong, I'm trying to really leave a legacy. A lot of entrepreneurs, they try to leave wealth. And the wealth that I'm trying to leave is more of a legacy, because money just vanishes after a certain generation,
100%.
It can only go so far down that. But if you leave a legacy behind, something that, you can teach them, and then that principle can roll into what they do with their wealth. It can really then lead into generation, down the road as to where that legacy really ends up going. So that's my take on that.
That's nice. Yeah, it's 100% when you have a purpose. It's you go no matter what, and whatever happens, from the best to the worst, you're just focused there and you keep going. And especially in entrepreneurship, there's many things that can, let's say, that can affect a journey. So particularly looking at the biggest game changer, what has been your biggest game changer in your business for the past year, let's say?
My biggest game changer, that's a good question. I think it was honestly when I got my first mentor. I'm almost positive. I mean, ever since then, things have been very rapidly growing, and I've been moving pretty quickly. It's, a mentor is kind of like a cheat code. A lot of people don't realize how valuable an experienced mentor who is. When I say a mentor, I'm talking about someone that has either done what you are trying to do and is 20 years ahead from you or 15 years ahead from you. You do want to have a big gap as to how far the experience level, because they've gone through things that you still haven't even, experienced.
100%.
So their pitfalls, right, can be things that you can learn way before you even come to them. And so by, joining and grabbing my mentor, I was able to shortcut, what would have probably taken me 20 years, 15 years, I was able to compress it into 3-5 year bubble, when I think about 6 years ago, 7 years ago, when I grabbed my first mentor, and then a year or two right after that, I grabbed my second mentor, and I think about the last 7 years where things have been, it's definitely been the biggest game changer. I went from a regular business owner, that no one knows, right? Except the people that are doing business with you, to being, a leader figure in the communities that I'm in with my mentors, and being a public stage, speaker, with big names as well that I've been privileged to be on stage with. So a mentor has definitely been the biggest game changer for me. If that would pick the answer, that would be that one.
Yeah. So sounds good. You got someone to look there, and as you said, 20, even 10 years of experiences. So many experiences within 10 years, and you can teach and learn from those people. That's so powerful.
Yeah,
So,
and it doesn't, the crazy thing too, it doesn't have to be, if someone can afford a mentor, because this is the question, right? It's like, okay, that did make a difference for you, Marco, right? But not everybody can afford a $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 mentor. I've seen people even spend more, right? And that's completely understandable. I get it. But the great thing is that you don't have to necessarily pay a mentor. There's mentors around you in your life that might be just one step ladder above you. They don't have to be 20 steps above you. If you can find someone in your life that's 2 steps above you or a step above you, that can probably even do it for free because they're not also they're big or anything yet, that person giving you that one step further into what you can shortcut into is still better than no one and trying to do it solo.
100%.
Like a lot of people fail doing something because they're trying to do it alone. They're not trying to learn from anybody. And so sometimes it's better to just find that person. I had buddies of mine that had brothers and sisters that were already doing what they wanted to do, and then they eventually wanted to do that, and they couldn't afford a mentor that the brothers and sisters were obviously in, but they leveraged their sibling relationship to just be able to learn the things that they could learn from their brother or their sister entirely for free, right? It's more just family love, sharing with each other, or friendship, right? It can be a friendship. And they were able to get a couple of things rolling and make money out of, and then they were able to buy their way into a real legit, mentorship. And sometimes that's kind of like the first step you need to take is who's a one step ladder above you, and just go from there if you don't have the funds or the means to dive into a full mentorship.
100%. Many people can use it. Many people use it as an excuse, but I really don't see it as an excuse, because you got the chance, as you said, even for free. You can always look up to someone in your environment. It can either be just a step. It doesn't have to be 20, and it's for free. And if you learn from the person a step above you, then you will definitely learn from someone that's 100, right? But if they use excuses on one step above, then they don't deserve the 100. So that's the way it is, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the things that I take away from where I'm at now is that I am that person for a lot of people. I am the 1 step, 2 step, 3 step ladder person to reach to. And I've been privileged enough to help a lot of individuals just out of giving them value, really. A lot of individuals who come to me, and the ones that have built a really strong relationship with me, the way they approach me is they approach me with not an ask or a want, but more of like, hey, I just see that you're doing these things, and I really love what you're doing, something that I've been dreaming of doing or wanting to do it myself. And I just want to ask you, like, is there anything that you're currently, struggling with or needing, or, connections that you're, probably trying to get that I can bring any value to? And they kind of lead into that relationship with that aspect where they're wanting to give me something. And, eventually at some point, be able to learn something from that value that they're providing me, and what we're doing with that together in order to be able to get into what I'm getting to. So that's kind of how I also approach my mentors, is how can I provide value to them? Because they're already teaching me a lot of things. What can I do in return? Even though I've already paid them to teach me these things, it goes beyond that. And a lot of people don't understand what relationship with add value really looks like. And so having a go-given mentality can really lead into a lot of things opening up for you. Take example, a podcast, right? There's a lot of podcasts out there that will reach out to me, and they'll invite me to their podcast, and they have huge influential platforms and followers, and all these things. But some podcasts lead the wrong way with, hey, we have a podcast here for you. It's so much to be entered to get an interview so you can engage with the audience. And that's great. That's a business model for them, right? But it's like the first thing they're leading with is, hey, drop 20K, we'll give you, a spot in our podcast, and you can sell your product. And, for the ones that need it, that works amazing. But there's other podcasts that are much bigger and have bigger influence, that approach things from a relationship point of aspect. There is no money needed. You can enter the podcast free. And what they're doing is they're doing a collaboration. They're leveraging each other's social influences, and that go-given mentality leads into a much bigger business model. And so those podcasts generally do sometimes even better because they're leading with a different point of reaching out for guests in the podcast. So, sometimes one thing is better than the other depending how you approach it. And so, that's kind of how I look at, building relationships in the entrepreneurial world with possible mentors that you can probably get into, get in contact with.
That's nice. Yeah, it's always great to have someone that you can count on the relationship as well, because many people are looking for the way out for the business only perspective, like, okay, do this and you're gonna get paid that, and it's just not as attractive as, let's say, something that I do. I focus on the person, let's say, for example. So it's nice. Is there a mistake that you made early on, maybe from a podcast, maybe from outside of the podcast, that you learned a valuable lesson from?
A mistake in the topic of
your business, of your entrepreneurship journey?
Oh yeah,
podcasts, maybe.
Yeah, it's impossible. That's impossible to avoid. Not running into mistakes. Running a business is really impossible. There's always going to be mistakes. It can be mistook the wrong relationship, that you thought was going to add you value, and really what they came in for was out of greed, and completely disrupted what you were doing. It can be hiring the wrong person with a negative mindset, a lot of people don't realize how negative mindsets can be a bad seed in a pot of a lot of positive mindset. It can completely
100%.
ruin that community that one person can spread that negativity, and it can really just ruin things. But I've made plenty of mistakes, from hiring the wrong person with a negative mindset. It does happen. Hiring the wrong person that you thought had the skill set for, the job, and, wasted a lot of your time, a lot of your money, and didn't live up to the skill set that they needed to live up to. I made quite a bit of those mistakes. But I think that would be the one of the biggest ones that I probably would say I learned a lot from was letting someone work for you for free.
Right.
I've learned that letting someone work for you for free is a very, very big mistake. There's a lot of unspoken things that go on with that type of relationship. So you got to be very attentive to if you allow someone to work for you without paying them, what is another form of payment that is not money that you can pay them with in return. It can be a mentee, and so you're leveraging that mentee to help other people that are around their age to understand what it is that they're doing. But I've learned, don't let someone work for you entirely free. There's an underlying purpose for someone offering you that, and so you really got to understand what that is and what their purpose is and what their story is, and kind of dive into that, and not just be like, you can work for me for free. I got all these things I want to get done. Why don't you start here? Get to know that person, understand the purpose of why that relationship, started out, and why they want to do that for you, and kind of dive into that a little bit more.
All right. So let's say that is that one of the questions that you get asked most often as well for your business, like about the the staff that you have, or is there something else?
Are you asking is what's the most trendy question I get asked about my business? Well, on the social media side and branding is, how do I get noticed? How do you build a brand, and how do you grow quickly, and how do you get noticed? And that's the $1 million questions for just about any business and any entrepreneur or any store. And the reality is that there's no simple answer to that question. It involves a lot of things, but one of the things that I can say in one word to that answer is you need consistency. Consistency is the number one thing for any brand, company, store, product, whatever it is in the sales world or social media world, that you really would need in order for that to go anywhere, to scale anywhere, to be noticed anywhere, is consistency. A lot of launching products, or a lot of launching channels or brands, or whatever you want to call it in this marketing industry of social media, is they lack consistency. They'll drop hard for like a week, and then you don't see them again. And it's kind of like, do you really give a week so that the world knows who you are? Is that how it works? Is that the magic number? You just show yourself to the world for a week and then expect the world to just fall in love with you? It's kind of like the journey of a singer. How long does it take a singer to be loved by the world? Or how long does it take an actor to be loved by the world? There are very few singers, very few actors, very few brands that are loved by the world. And when you look at their journey and you look at what they had to do in order to be loved by the world, you see something that's very common among them, and they were consistent, and they did that for months, years upon years of work, non-relentless
decades
work. And that's kind of like the biggest thing when it comes to that. And so that's the biggest question I get asked, and I let them know, hey, if I can sum it up in one word, it would be this, but there's so much more to it than just the word itself, right? But consistency is definitely the one thing in anything. So I guess that would be the probably the biggest question I get asked. And it relates even on the my real estate side of the journey as a private investor, and being buying the right deals, investing in the right deals. It also involves the same thing. How consistent am I going out there and making relationships with the right people? How consistent am I, looking at my email and going through, a dozen deals a day? Am I making the effort to get in front of the right people that much more? And so, it works in anything you do. So, repetitiveness and consistency and being relentless about what that is to your business is really the biggest thing. And then, the second thing that would probably lead to that question on both aspects of the business, real estate, media, branding, or self-branding, is also your core values. The consistency and core values, they tie in very well.
100%.
They're what allows people to understand who you are. When you think about core values, you can name brands right away that have earned almost like a coin as to what their core values are. So like, Nike, everybody knows what Nike's core values are. As a worldwide brand, they're very consistent with their marketing. They've been relentless. And even though they've rebranded several times over the year, their core values stay the same, right?
Yeah.
And so now you can coin things like just do it, and people know, okay, you're referencing Nike, right? Yeah. The reality is, it's like when you think of the words just do it, it's like they're regular words before even became a thing with Nike. Those words already existed. What made them more powerful now is the way that the company branded those words.
100%.
The way that they phrased those words, the way that they coined them, and the core values that they tied to those words, and the consistency that they did behind that branding, right? So there's a bunch of them out there. I mean, we can talk about fast food restaurants like McDonald's, Burger King. They all have their own
days
coined sayings, right? And it's just the consistency behind them and the core values that they put behind them.
I see. Okay, we have a bonus section as well. So there I'll say a word or a phrase, and you must reply with the first thought that comes to your mind. Make sense?
Okay.
It's a fun one. So first one is freelance professional.
Freelance professional. First word that comes to mind. Fun.
All right. Entrepreneurs?
Fun. Being a freelance professional, I mean, and I am one, right? So like, if I was to sum up what that means to me, it's fun. Like, I have a passion for it. So every day I wake up enjoying what I do, so that would be my number one word for that.
It's nice. What about passive wealth?
Passive wealth. Real estate.
100%. Good. Let's say we talked about branding. I got about branding. What about you mentioned it? What about business people?
Business people.
Yeah.
Business people. If I was to sum that up with one word, it would be net worth.
Net worth.
Yeah,
That's powerful
net
as
worth.
well.
Because a lot of people don't know that in the business world, your net worth is your network. And the stronger
Exactly.
that network is, the bigger your net worth is going to be. So yeah.
I see. You kind of predicted what I was gonna say here, even if you don't know what I've written, and because we're talking about branding and social media, and you were talking about all those things, so there is no point in me going again to those, but it's nice. So what would you say is a key tip for young entrepreneurs or for your younger self that you want to leave us with before we close the pod?
Well, if you're jumping into the entrepreneur world, I would say have core values that you can hold on to, because those core values is essentially are going to be your identity. They're going to be your brand, right?
Yeah.
And self-branding is very important these days. So make sure that you are recording your journey, your process. Make sure that you're tracking your entire KPI, as I call it, when it comes to when you started something to where you're taking it. A lot of entrepreneurs, they fail to look at what they're doing, and they're focusing more on what other people are doing, and not realizing that they are damaging a lot of things that they don't realize they're damaging. So when, let's say you learn something amazing, when it comes to running a podcast, let's say, right? And you learn something that is super valuable, and in your mind, well, plenty of people know this. Great. But what if there's some that are not aware of it, and you are not sharing that with others? It's, to me, it's like not sharing what I know with others is damaging, because you're not helping anybody, and it's as simple as just recording it or talking about it, or having a conversation with someone, right? Like in these podcasts, you have conversations with people all the time, and some individuals will share something with you that it's new and it's like interesting, and you heard it for the first time, but it's been around for years, right? And it's like, it's that, I would say, for new entrepreneurs, make sure that you're building core values around what you believe in, and make sure you hold on to them. Make sure you also share what you're learning with others. Make sure you're recording your journey, you're recording your process, you're tracking your KPIs within that business that you're doing, because at some point it's going to become a blueprint that you can give someone else that is just starting, that needs to understand how to do it. And you went through all the horrible ups and downs of it, and you figured out your own way of getting around it. And I think that would be the best thing that you can do as a first-time entrepreneur. And then the second thing would be just be open to building longer relationships with people. Bring values to others without expecting anything in return. That's very important, and it's very hard to do. I can tell you for a fact, you are going to be taken advantage of a lot, but it's just getting past that. If you can get past that point where you are doing it for a bigger purpose than what others are doing for you, then that's going to end up leading into a bunch of reciprocated value given back to you. The universe works in mysterious ways.
I love it. I love it so much. Thank you so much for coming, Marco.
Absolutely.
And That was Marco Rivera, ladies and gentlemen.